You know, for years, the whole world of global trade, especially the online shopping you do every single day, has pretty much run on a set of unspoken rules. But right now, governments are tearing up that rulebook and starting fresh. And believe me, it's about to change how everything, from the tiniest package to a massive cargo ship, gets from point A to point B.
And look, this isn't some far-off abstract economic theory. It really all starts with a very simple question that hits close to home. Why is the way you shop online, the prices you pay, how fast your stuff arrives, why is all of that on the brink of a huge transformation? Well, the answer is hiding in plain sight, in a single powerful loophole that has been quietly fueling the e-commerce boom for years.
And that loophole has a name: de minimis. Basically, just think of it as this giant global duty-free lane. For the US, it meant anything under $800 could just fly right past customs, no tariffs. In the EU, that magic number was 150 euros. This one rule opened the floodgates for a torrent of low-cost goods, mostly from Asia, to land right on our doorsteps. It's the engine that created the super-fast, super-cheap e-commerce world we all know.
Well, that era, it's officially over. This is probably the single biggest shift happening in global logistics, and it is happening right now. That duty-free lane is being shut down.
Okay, so how exactly is this all going down? This isn't some slow, gradual phase-out. No, this is a coordinated and, in some cases, accelerated policy shock coming from the world's biggest consumer markets.
Let's just take a look at Europe. They are facing an absolute explosion of packages. We're talking 4.6 billion of them in 2024 alone, with over 90% coming from China. So what did the EU do? They hit the fast forward button. They were originally going to get rid of this 150 euro exemption by 2028, but now they've moved that whole timeline up. The first changes are going to hit in 2026. This is a massive U-turn in policy, and the shockwaves are going to be huge.
And here's the thing. This isn't just a story about the EU. The US already made its move to get rid of its own $800 de minimis rule last year. So what you have are the two largest Western markets basically acting in sync together to close the main artery for cheap e-commerce from Asia. This is nothing less than a geopolitical redesign of trade, and the fallout is already hitting the high seas.
So what's the immediate fallout? Well, it's pretty dramatic. We're now seeing a global shipping market that's completely split in two. It's telling two totally different stories depending on which ocean you're looking at.
On one side, you've got the trans-Pacific routes, the ones heading to the US. Demand there is weak. Shipping rates are actually falling. I mean, the cost to ship from Shanghai to New York just dropped by 10%. But then you look at the other side, the Asia to Europe routes, and they are on fire. E-commerce volumes are surging because sellers are scrambling to get ahead of the new rules. Rates have been climbing for 6 straight weeks, and carriers are already announcing price hikes. It is a complete and total divergence.
And this is where it gets really interesting. If you only look at the cost to ship containers full of finished goods, things like phones and clothes, the market looks kind of stable. But that's hiding what's really going on. Now look at the Baltic Dry Index. This one tracks raw materials, stuff like iron ore and coal. It is up a staggering 48% from last year. So what does that tell us? It tells us that while demand for our consumer gadgets in the West is a bit shaky, the global demand for the industrial building blocks of the world is absolutely booming.
You know what? This confusion isn't just happening at the docks. The bigger economic signals we're getting are sending completely contradictory messages, and that's leaving policymakers and businesses in a really, really tough spot.
On the one hand, you have the U.S. Federal Reserve cutting interest rates. They're looking at a slowing job market, they see the corporate layoffs, and they're trying to give the economy a shot in the arm. This is basically the central bank trying to hit the gas to keep us out of a downturn.
But at the exact same time, inflation is heating up for the 5th month in a row. Prices are rising uncomfortably fast, which, would normally signal that you need to raise rates, not cut them.
So what gives? This brings us to the central puzzle that everyone, and I mean everyone, is trying to solve right now. How is it possible for an economy to be showing signs of hitting the brakes and the gas at the same time? It's this exact contradiction that's making it so incredibly hard to predict what's coming next.
All right, so with that big, confusing economic picture in mind, let's bring it back down to earth, to the real world of logistics, where companies have to deal with immediate, on-the-ground threats while also trying to plan for a future that looks very, very different.
And the risks are just everywhere. You've got ships in Mombasa, Kenya, waiting over 5 days just to dock because of congestion. Over in Europe, a massive transport strike is about to paralyze Italy. Back in the US, new enforcement actions are tightening the supply of truck drivers.
And all of this is happening under this big cloud of political uncertainty over what's next for tariffs. These aren't abstract risks. They're happening right now and causing real disruptions.
So when you're faced with all these pressures, especially the constant chronic shortage of drivers, the industry is accelerating towards a technological solution that, while it once felt like science fiction, now it's being called an urgently necessary solution.
Look, here's the key takeaway on this. Self-driving trucks, they're coming way faster than you might think. And it's really because of four big forces pushing them forward. You've got the driver shortages we just talked about. You've got the fact that long-haul highway routes are actually pretty simple for AI. The tech platforms for major players are finally mature. And this is critical. States like Texas and Arizona are already creating regulations to allow it. This isn't a what-if anymore. It's a when.
So, when you put all of these pieces together, the new customs rules, the split shipping markets, the crazy economic signals, the rise of automation, it becomes crystal clear that the old way of doing business is just obsolete. There's a new logistics playbook now.
So what does this new strategy actually look like? Well, the game isn't just about finding the lowest cost anymore. It's about agility. It's about resilience. It means investing in digital customs tech right now to deal with the EU's new rules. It means locking in your shipping capacity on those surging Asia to Europe routes while staying flexible on the weaker Trans-Pacific ones to grab low prices. It's about actually planning for strikes and having a real roadmap for bringing in autonomous trucks. Honestly, this is the new price of admission to play in the world of global trade.
So it all comes down to this. As government policies are literally redrawing the maps of global commerce, and as technology completely reshapes what's even possible, a whole new landscape is forming. The question is no longer about how to operate in the old world. It's about who's going to win and who's going to lose in this new one.